Reba finally paused, folded her hands, and looked straight at Joy, not angry yet but unflinching. She spoke about respect, about being talked over, about the difference between disagreement and disregard. Applause broke out, but Joy pushed back again, waving it off with a half-smile, as if the room hadn't just shifted. The tension didn't explode all at once, it stretched, slow and taut, like a wire pulled too tight. Reba leaned back slightly, taking a breath that looked practiced, almost professional. Years on stage had taught her how to hold a room, how to wait for the exact second when people were listening instead of just hearing. She glanced around the table, then toward the audience, acknowledging them without asking for their approval. Her voice, when she spoke again, stayed measured, but there was steel beneath it now. She explained how she grew up in a place where conversations weren't about winning, but about understanding, where listening mattered just as much as speaking. Each sentence landed cleanly, deliberate, like she was laying stones across a river. Joy interrupted again, a quick quip, a joke that skimmed the surface but carried an edge. Laughter bubbled from part of the audience, unsure and nervous. Reba didn't laugh. She tilted her head, eyes narrowing just enough to show she wasn't missing anything. "That right there," she said calmly, "is what I'm talking about." The room went quieter. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. She spoke about being invited onto the show to share her story, not to be reduced to a stereotype or a punchline. She reminded them she'd spent decades navigating rooms far tougher than this one, rooms full of executives, critics, and crowds that could turn cold in an instant. "I'm not fragile," she said softly, "but I do expect basic courtesy." The applause this time was louder, more unified, rolling across the studio like a wave. Joy leaned back, crossed her arms, and fired off another remark, sharper than before. It wasn't loud, but it was pointed, and it cut through Reba's sentence mid-thought. For the first time, Reba's smile disappeared completely. She didn't raise her voice. Instead, she straightened in her chair, shoulders squared, and waited until Joy finished. The pause that followed felt intentional, almost ceremonial. When Reba spoke again, the warmth was gone, replaced by something firmer, something that demanded attention. She talked about women supporting women, about how disagreement didn't require disrespect, and how being outspoken didn't mean silencing others. Her words weren't rushed. They came steady, confident, and unmistakably personal. She shared a brief story from early in her career, about being dismissed, talked over, and told she should be grateful just to be in the room. "I learned then," she said, "that if you don't speak up for yourself, no one else will." The co-hosts shifted in their seats. One nodded quietly, another tried to interject with a soft attempt at balance, but the moment had already taken on a life of its own. The audience could feel it. This wasn't just another daytime TV disagreement. It was a line being drawn. Reba wasn't there to spar for entertainment, she was there to be heard. Joy tried again to steer the conversation back, suggesting it was all just spirited debate. Reba met that with a steady gaze. "Debate doesn't feel like this," she replied. "Debate feels like two people listening as much as they're talking." The words hung in the air, undeniable. A few audience members stood to clap before quickly sitting back down, unsure if it was appropriate but unable to stop themselves. Reba's hands moved as she spoke now, small, controlled gestures that underscored her points. She made it clear she wasn't attacking anyone personally, she was challenging a pattern. She spoke about how voices from different backgrounds deserve space, how mocking or minimizing shuts down real conversation. The studio lights reflected off her eyes, intense but clear, as if she'd reached a decision long before she walked onto the set. Joy responded with a sigh and a shrug, clearly frustrated. The tension sharpened again, the back and forth teetering on the edge of something bigger. Reba inhaled slowly, her chest rising and falling, and for a brief second it looked like she might let it go. Instead, she leaned forward, placing both hands flat on the table. The gesture was simple, but it commanded the room. "I came here in good faith," she said, voice still calm but unmistakably firm. "I'm happy to disagree. I'm not happy to be dismissed." The audience erupted into applause, louder than before, and this time it didn't fade quickly. It rolled on, forcing a pause in the show's rhythm, disrupting the usual flow. Reba sat back as the applause continued, her expression composed but resolute. She wasn't shouting. She wasn't insulting anyone. But it was clear now that she wasn't backing down either. The clash hadn't reached its peak yet, but the fuse was lit, and everyone in the studio, hosts, crew, and viewers at home, could feel that something unforgettable was about to happen.